Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US tech stocks. We're going to have a look at the XLK here, the tech sector, and also the NASDAQ as well. So there's a strong case for having an impulse wave to the downside. So if we get 5 waves down from the top, then we can expect an ABC correction and then another 5 down. So this section over here, it seems quite good in that we could count 5 waves up here for the A wave and then an ABC for the B wave and then go up for the C wave here. So that seems like a reasonable sort of pathway here. This would be wave 5, which would be wave 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 up here, and then move down at that point. But there's that's one way to view it, and that's quite possible. So we'll put that on the table. The other one is that and there's a good case for this as well. There's a good case for both of them actually. So there's a case where we can put this already in play here. It's quite close to the 50-60%. In the NASDAQ, it's in the box already. So that means that we would need to look at this move down here. We can see that's got little 5 waves here. So we would need to look at that as wave 1 here and back for a wave 2 over here. So we need to be prepared to go short as well. So this would be down for wave 1 with an A and a B and a C wave here for wave 2. So yeah, we need to talk about this little area in here. Of course, we can short the low here, and there's a couple of other little ways we can go about doing things as well, depending on how much exposure you want to take on. So let's just have a look at the NASDAQ for a moment. You can see the NASDAQ has moved up into its box here, the 50-60%. So there's a good chance in this case that we have the ABC pattern in place here. So in that case, this here we would need to be mindful of a short trade setup. So we can look at this as wave 1 here, and then an A and a B and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 up here for wave 2, and this would be the 50-60% up here. But obviously the 15,000 is going to be, well, it's going to carry a fair bit of weight, isn't it? So it may not push. I doubt if it will push all that way up. It will probably more likely have a go at getting up here, but then fail at this point and end up moving down here. And this is what you can kind of look for. If you can figure out you got 5 waves here, this is one way to short it, a safe way. If you got 5 waves here, and it might be lower, it might be down to the old low here, it may be higher, but once you've got that, then you can look to short the A, B, C over this side for that. We'll talk about this one more so in the indices video next, but that would be it. Of course, you can short it up here, you could short it here, but if you do anything up in this area here, there is a risk that, as we mentioned, the move can go higher up here. I don't think it's the case. I mean, the weekly volume was pretty much about the same week as before, slightly lower. On a daily basis, there's some with increased volume to the upside, like Tesla, and some not so much. So yeah, anyway, basically the takeaway here is these are the two, these are the two patterns that we're up against, and this one here with the wave B here, whichever degree of wave B that's going to be, that seems to be the case, and we'll need to look at this as wave 1 with an A and a B and a C, but it's not set in stone. And if you're unsure about anything, well, then the short trade will come under the low here. But obviously when this comes down here, there's going to be a bounce off that anyway, so you would want to wait for the bounce, in this case, something like that. Yeah, anyway, we'll talk more about that in a moment. And this is the S&P while we're here, so this would be the same thing as well. The short trade would simply be under here for this, and we'd be looking for a little A wave, B wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, and then down again here. It's at the 50% here, so it's quite possible it could go to this point here. So that's why you kind of need to be a little bit careful about this. But we'll talk about that in stocks. In the indices video. Okay, so over to Apple, and the same situation applies here as well. We could move up here. There's plenty of space to move up here. And then move down from that point. This has been a bit of a blueprint where we've had our 5-wave structure here, and based on this we can base pretty much the whole market of looking at 5 waves down and having a look at a corrective rally, and then another 5 down for all the stocks that we cover anyway. I cover anyway. So that's basically it, really. So we can short it under the low here. We just need to be careful about it going up here. That's all. So that said, we'll go from 1,000 ticks to 100 ticks, and we'll just investigate this and talk about it a little bit more. So in this case, we've had the A wave here, but we may need to put that in as the top here. So we'll put that in as the top, as a possible top there. So, I mean, if the market moves up, well then, you know, then it moves up. The short trade is kind of the one that we want to look at more so. So this would be the situation here. From the top here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 coming down, and 5 here. In some cases, this wave 4 would overlap wave 1 in some of the markets, so just be a little bit mindful of that. But otherwise, an A wave here, a B wave here, and then the same thing again, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5 up here. So what we could say here is that, I mean, even if we got 5 waves off the low here, then we would also be looking for, let's just pretend it's going to be bullish for a moment. It would be like this, wouldn't it? So from the low here to the 180, this area here, is that right? Yeah, that's 177.20. So that's where it could just push up from. So any short trade in this space here that you weren't confident in would be at risk at that point. So we could, you could sell it at the 180 and see how that goes. So that's a possibility. So we could just turn that green here and we'll just squash it up. We'll get a bit, anywhere sort of 179 and 179.30 and above or something. So it's quite possible to short it. I don't think that if the 180 became the support, you'd have to move out from this. So this here is quite clear. It's 5 waves. I mean, it's overlapping here, of course, but in this case, I could just put this here and probably work it that way as well. I could possibly do that, but in the majority of markets that we're looking at has this as the first 5 wave structure here and the 3rd wave, and we're looking for the 5th wave. So so if you shorted it here, then the stop loss would be, let's just say that it came up and hit it and you got filled and then it pushed up here. Then let it push up and just look at the first high above the level and then put the stop above the first high above the level, just in case you get the wave count wrong or something happens like this here and then works itself to the downside. But that's where I would put the stop, wherever that high is. So if you're putting the position on, well, you'll be there so you can monitor at that point. The next point is that if this is going up here as wave 1 up here and then having an ABC here, this is going to be 5 waves and this is going to be 3 waves and this is going to be 5 waves here. So that will be a 3-wave move to the 61.8%. If you do get 3 waves to the 61.8%, then it's probably going to be corrective at that point. If you get 5 waves to the 61.8%, then it's likely to be bearish at that point. If you want a safe trade, then look at the 177 here, and this is a half position or quarter position or third position. And in this case, you'll be looking for something like this here. So it's very simple. So at the 177, the market moves through, comes back and check it. You got that low there and the second low. Most of the time, the market will come back above the level here, a little bit more complicated, so then you need to rinse and repeat, but you'll have this particular low here, this one, and then a new one over here for this. So that's the way to treat this first one to the downside here. And then once this low area here, so in this case, this is group 2 here, so 176.50. So in this case, we could also use, because of the previous lows at 176, then we can use that there as well. So you could have that there with a classic trading levels pattern as well. So once that becomes the resistance. But most of the time what happens is that if it's going to be bearish, you'll get 5 waves down to the low here, and then you'll get the main bounce at this point, and then you would come down. If you can see that you got 5 waves here, then you can look for the 50-60% over here, and then look to short in that box there based on your ability to read those 5 waves down here. And if you can't do that, then you have to wait for this low or the second low over here. So you just got to see what comes out of the gates. But anyway, you know where the risk is, and so any positions up here should be small, so you can handle that risk, and a small loss is better than a large loss. So yeah, it's just about managing your exposure, managing your risk, and yeah, so this is pretty much how it's going to be for most stocks here. So obviously you want to sort of short the weaker ones if you can, see which ones have moved down the most. So that's Apple, and that's pretty much how you can look to short the others as well. So the same with Amazon here. It's moved up to its, well, 50%. So we can see that it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. I'm looking at this here as a corrective pattern here for wave A, and then wave B seems to be in 3 waves, so we're looking for 5 waves up here. You could short it at the 135. This 133 level here is quite a good support as well, so you may end up getting 5 waves down and then an ABC, so you could use the B wave to short at that point. If you've got 5 waves here, you could also short on the 61.8% up here for that. But that 5 waves down here will tell you that you're going to get another 5 waves. So that way, not that you can do much about it, but it kind of gives you a little bit of breathing space at that point. Obviously, you can short the low here. You'd also want to kind of just understand where the 50-60% is on the flip side here. So there will be consolidation in this area here as well. You're in group 1 here, 1, 2, and 3. So it's going to be a little bit bouncy and choppy in here anyway. It swings around a fair bit. As you can see here and here, that's all of group 1 kind of normal behavior. So that's what you'll see here as well. So I suggest any sort of short trades, you might need to bring that down a little bit here to get that if you wanted to short it at that point. Yeah, I tend to wait for that first decent 5 waves to the downside. You see how this here is kind of a decent 5 waves here? I'd kind of wait for that to the downside, and if you got if you've got a decent 5 waves there, basically you can short over here anyway. You know what I mean? Because based on that 5 waves, so it's less risk at that point, and it's just a matter of patience, and then you can move down at that point. So do all those sorts of things. So I'll just leave it with you, and we're just going to see how it sort of plays out. We were talking about, last time we spoke on Friday, we were talking about all of this, hoping to set up a little bit better, and there is an opportunity here setting up. Like I said, it's quite possible that the B wave could end up over here and we go up further. So that's something that we need to look out for, and that's why I'm suggesting a decent 5 waves down. So tomorrow we'll be a little bit closer to where we need to be in terms of a setup. So that will even be better still. So any positions that you do up here, just make sure that they're very small. Don't get carried away with them because you could get trapped. This is NVIDIA here. This is NVIDIA. And yeah, so we counted 5 waves up here. And yeah, just sort of checking it out. I mean, I've got 5 waves here, but we do have a bit of an overlap on 4 and 1 here. But maybe I need to count this a little bit differently as well. I should really put this over here so it's in line with the other markets as such, but I'm just not seeing that here. I've counted this here. It's 5 waves down to this point. So it's leaving me not the best little 5 waves off the low here for this, but still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess, with an ABC. And yeah, I think there's a little bit more to this one, a little bit tricky. So definitely wait for 5 waves to come down on this one. But of course, you can short it under the 450 as well. But I'm just wondering if this is going to do something like some sort of A wave, B wave, and C wave here and then down, you know, because I don't have the same ABC pattern coming off the low here, so it's a little bit trickier, this one. And obviously this is one of the stronger stocks, so you want to be a little bit careful about this. This is all just profit taking. We're not in a sort of a bear market with this one. Meta platforms here. So let me just check on this. I'll better take it from here just to. So we're at the 50% here at the moment. So if this went up, it would just come back up into this box here for this. But at the same time, we need to prepare for the short side here as well. So obviously we can short under here. I mean, I'm just afraid that if we get a push up here, that will give us 5 waves up. We might be able to squeeze an A and a B and a C out of this. I'm not quite sure, but let's just see tomorrow, because even if we got 5 waves down here to this previous low, then we would get some sort of ABC rally back as well, and that's kind of what we're looking at for the next step. So let's just chill on this one as well. If you're going to short here, you just wait for that to bounce back off at that point. And if this was going to be 5 waves up here, as 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 up here, well, then we just have to wait again at that point, and then we have to wait for another 5 waves down to come into play before we can short it again. So it's a little bit sort of tricky. Don't particularly want to go long either in any of these just yet. You could probably one of the best bets to do a little long trade in Tesla. That was one that was sort of popping out a bit. Netflix here, it's a bit of a kooky sort of pattern with all of this, but in a nutshell, what it's doing here is bouncing off the closest largest number and hitting supply, and then force back down with 5 waves here. So it's going to continue to be a bit bouncy here because it needs to migrate from being support to resistance. The pattern here is much the same as the others, so we can look at this as the A, the B, and the C wave here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. And once we hit it at 420 there, you could probably bring that down here into probably 419 and short it in there, I guess. Otherwise you might miss it a bit up there. So you can short it in the box, that's possible, but also it's probably in this case you probably could short it in the box without don't overdo it. Just put a 25% position in there or 30%, and but yeah, the next 5 waves down here that will signify that we're going to be bearish at that point. So yeah, just working that little area if you're there to do it. So Alphabet here. So I would like to put this down here as wave 1 and 2 here, because I can see that we've got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for 1 and 2, but we've got that spike on the wave 4 here that overlaps this. So there's different ways of looking at this here, I guess, but it's still the same as the others, So in this case, we've got a little 5 waves up here. So once again, I think that this will try to push up here, and then drop. So we want to look at that 5-wave move here. And then if we got 5 waves here, then we can also do the same thing as well, wherever that's going to be, and look for the 50-60%, in this area over here, and look to short it at that point. So there's not a lot of difference waiting for it to come down and bounce back again to check, So, I wouldn't rush. There's no need to rush into any of these, because they'll come back to you, and then you can short it in this box. If there's 5 waves here, that would be the way to go. Yeah, it's just a little bit more professional, I reckon, just waiting for it to come to you. Microsoft here. Now this B wave here is a little bit sort of low, but the important thing here is that we do have 5 waves down. There's 1 and 2 here, and 1 and 2 here, and then 5 waves down for 3, 4, 5 for third, fourth, and fifth. So it is possible to have wave B over here. That would, if you took this at face value, then that would be logical, and that's what you'd be looking for. But the NASDAQ's already pulled back to its 50-60%. So the consensus is, and we can get 5 waves out of this easy peasy. But the consensus is that we should be coming down. I mean, there's a good case for going up here, because I can look at that as 5 waves here. I could look at this here the other way around. I could look at that as the A wave here, the B wave up here, and the C wave down here, and put the B wave over here. So an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. Bit short on the C wave, but seen that before. So all of an A and a B and a C wave up here. I can see that clear as a bell, and it's quite possible. But the consensus is that we need to handle this situation, and it's kind of good that if we're wrong here and we do go further up, I still feel that we've done the right thing, because our attention and our focus is about shorting new lows here and trying to find a way in. And if it happens, then it's we get a pat on the back. If it doesn't happen, we don't have to cry about it. We just get back up on the horse and we look for the next one up here. But because it's presenting itself here, we have to move forward with it, be right or wrong. So anyway, that's what we're doing at the moment. So here, as pretty clear, 5 waves down for wave 1, 1 to here, sorry, third wave, fourth, fifth. So an A and a B, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So another little push up here. You could probably also bring that down as well, a little bit closer to this high and to the number 5 here, if you wanted to short it on the turn. And otherwise, it will be pretty bouncy coming down here, but it should give you 5 waves down here, and then some sort of corrective move here before going down. Well, it'll kick back here and then go down at that point. So small positions, the way to go, and the stop loss can be the first high above the level here. Whatever you're doing will be like that. So yeah, that would be it. So we can also short this over here as well in this box. That would be the go. Just another layer of security on the short side setup, really. And Tesla. So you could probably trade Tesla up, because on the daily volume it closed a bit higher, so it's got some momentum to the upside. So if you want something to do, that would be it here. And I can see that this structure here is not finished. It hasn't got a lot in it. You just have to buy it on the open and push up and get out. But it should push up a bit further. It should come up here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. And we'll probably need to look at this here as wave 1 and 2 to here, and probably 1, 2, probably 3. Some sort of dance across the top, across the 240, the top there, and then the 5 here. So it'll be something like that. So it's not a fantastic trade at all, but it's one that I can see that still needs to go further up. Alrighty, I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.